So how do you make the best use of your IB summer? This is the summer from your first year of your IB until your second year. Hi, my name is Joaquin Ravello. I'm a current UPenn Wharton dual degree engineering student, and I got a perfect 45 in the IB. I make these videos to help out students, including my brother and sister, and my main goal is to just deliver as much value as I possibly can. All right, so with that being said, let's jump right into it. There's two different things that you could be doing with your summer, all right, that really depends on your objective. If your objective is to get into a top university, there's different things you could be doing compared to if your objective is simply to get high grades. All right. And in fact, I want to preface that by saying that everyone's summer is different. Okay. There is no incantation, there is no special spell, there is no secret formula per se on how to make the best use of your summer. Why? Because everyone's summer is different. So keep that in mind. There is no special formula. If anyone tells you that there is, there isn't, because everyone is going to different universities. Everyone has different objectives, and because of that, you can use your summer differently. All right. So I'm going to go through the first one, which is how to get into a top university. This is what I did. All right, because I always knew that I wanted to get into the MNT program, which is dual degree between the Wharton and the engineering school at the University of Pennsylvania. So I always knew I wanted to get into that selective program. So this is what I did during the summer. All right. The first thing I did was I took the summer course, the MNTSI, the MNT summer course, which is essentially, it was, I believe, a 3-week course going over technologies, entrepreneurship. And then at the end, we had a project that brought it all together. Long story short, I ended up winning, or my team ended up winning one of the awards in that project, which got us access actually to the director of the program, Gad Allen. And through that, I was able to meet Gad, speak with him. Not only did I realize that MNT was the school for me, but it also gave me access to a lot of conversations with faculty that I can then use to write my essays. All right, which brings me on to my second point, writing essays. All right, by the time I finished my summer, I had written what I believe the final number was 36 essays, something like that. Okay, so I had the two universities I was applying early to, which was MNT and MIT. And then I had the other 7 universities that I was going to apply regular decision to, given that as a backup if I didn't get into my top two, all right, which was the MNT and the MIT program. I had, so all of those essays that I had to write for all those universities, I did it all during the summer. So by the time I got into my second year of the IB DP program, I had all of my essays completed for my university. And that actually proved out to be pivotal, which brings me on to my third point, which was IAs and EEs. Because by having my essays done, not only did that relieve a lot of stress when it came to studying, but it also gave me ample opportunity to make my IA and my EE as good as possible. All right. Which brings me to the other point of, should you do your IAs and EEs during your summer? I don't think so. I don't think it's the best idea to do it during your summer, because what I found is that when you're in that environment, when you're with your school, when you're with your friends, when you're in the lab, you just get it done much faster. With that being said, though, there's a few IAs that I think I could have benefited from had I started working on them in the summer. The first of which is the chemistry IA, which I could have very easily done that experiment right at the end of my DP 1 year. And then I had the entire summer essentially to write up that lab. I could have very well done that. And in retrospect, I wish I did do that, because that would have saved me a lot of time at the beginning of my second DP year. All right. The other IA that I wish I'd spent more time working on in the summer was my math IA, which was slammed literally in the worst possible time. All right. I started doing my math IA, I believe it was in October, and it was due in November, or we started in mid-September and it was due in November, something along those lines. What you need to understand is that my early application for MNT and MIT were due the first, I believe on Halloween, or the first day of November, something around there. And that was the same day, or 2 days before that, the math IA was also due. So it was just, I was very lucky to not only have the proper productivity skills to manage all of that, but I was also very lucky that I finished my application essays beforehand, right? And because of that, I had a lot of time to really do my math IA well. But if I didn't do that, I think I would have been in hot water, because I was trying to do just imagine trying to do your math IA well while also trying to do your application essays well. It's like, at that point, there reaches a trade-off where you want to spend more time working on your application essay, which by definition means that your math IA isn't as good as it can possibly be. Why? Because time is the ultimate constraint there. All right. So I wish I could spend more time on that. The other thing I worked on in the summer, and this goes on to the point I was just talking about, is my extended essay. All right. I did my extended essay on physics. In fact, I built a bunch of nozzles for a rocket engine I was working on with a friend. And if you're interested, you can find that in YouTube actually if you go to my playlist and then you go to archive videos, you can actually see the video there. All right. If you go to CSSI, there's an entire vlog that we did. So, long story short, I ended up doing that at the tail end of the summer. And I do feel like that definitely saved me a lot of time. When a lot of people are trying to do their experiment or trying to find data for their extended essay, I was basically done. All right. And in fact, something I wish I could have done differently was to be done with the extended essay before school even started. Because I was working, I believe it was the first 2 weeks of my grade 12 year, so DP2, I was spending working on my extended essay. And in fact, and this is most people would be surprised to hear this, but when I first submitted my DP or my EE for my instructor to mark, I actually got a level D. I did so poorly on that essay, all right? Building the rocket engine. And I think one of the reasons why I did so poorly is because I was trying to explain third level thermodynamics. So the teacher was obviously getting confused. I didn't really know much what I was talking about. So it was this big confusion. So I got a D through that. And then I spent the next 2 weeks, I believe until the 1st of October, really relearning the content that I wrote about, understanding it thoroughly and making it as clear as possible. And through that entire process, actually, I not only did I get the final score of a level A from the IB, but I also learned how important it is to have time to work on that. Because again, if I was crunched with working on my essays, if I was crunched working on my grades, crunched working on something else, it just wouldn't have been possible. All right, so that's something very important to keep in mind. The next thing that I want to talk about is I'm going to talk about grades after that. The next thing I want to talk about is your wow factor or your extra co-curriculars that you're going to show to your university. All right, by the time grade 12 begins, it is too late. I'll say that again. It is too late to work on your extracurriculars. If you don't have a solid set of extracurriculars, you are screwed by the time grade 12 comes. There's no other way to put it. You are absolutely screwed. So don't be that guy or that gal who shows up first day of grade 12 and they're like, oh, I need to somehow make a wow factor. Oh, I need to improve some extracurricular. It's not going to happen. All right. In fact, I don't want you to reach that state. Right. I don't want you to try to like, oh, but I was able to do it. Don't reach that point. All right. Because you should be spending all of your time. Hopefully your essays are already done by that point, but you should be spending all of your time making sure that your predicted grades are up to par, which includes working on your IAs. All right, and then finalizing your application with that. Those should really be your three priorities by the time you get back. In other words, you want to do everything you possibly can to give yourself the opportunity to only work on these three priorities. Right? Steve Jobs used to say that focus is not focusing on what to, or excuse me, he used to say that he's not as happy of the things he did, but as the things he didn't do. All right, by focusing in on these three priorities, you're essentially telling yourself that you're not going to do everything else. And all those things you're not going to do at the beginning of the year, which are not those three priorities, you wanted to do in the summer. All right. Wow factor, your extracurriculars, that's one of them. Spend your entire summer really polishing that up if you don't have it. Hopefully, you should have it from grade 11 and grade 10 that you can build up to. Again, we talk about, if you saw some of my other videos, we talk about really defining your two words. For me, it was educational tech. So you want to make sure those are nailed down, your application is done or is in process of finishing, and then you can just wrap that up at the beginning of grade 12 and then apply. Okay. Another side note that I wanted to bring. Actually, I'm just going to talk straight about the IB grades right now. All right. So, what if your goal is not to get into a top university, but instead to get purely IB grades? Well, you can actually spend, again, your summer working on your IAs and EEs and pre studying a lot of the content. Something I see that comes up, and I have a lot of students who, for whatever reason, they ask me this question, and you'd be surprised how many times it comes up. But a student is wondering what they should spend their time on. And they always tell me the same thing. They tell me that they're pre studying calculus, that they're learning calculus, they're pre studying. I don't think that's the best way to approach it. All right, and I'll tell you why. Because, again, given that most students here are trying to get into a top university or get good grades at the very least, studying calculus, especially because I was in Math HL, if you're in Math HL, Math Analysis A, I believe it's AI or something, I'm not sure what it was called. But if you're doing Math HL, you don't actually start to learn calculus until after you've applied for university. In fact, I believe I started to learn it the day of, or a few days before I applied, like that week of. We started covering it around that time. Therefore, me actually learning calculus had absolutely no impact on my predicted grades, the ones that I submitted early. It was only after I submitted and then we went to our mocks where the calculus I learned there applied to my predicted grades. All right, so I see a lot of people trying to learn calculus. It is not necessary for you to learn calculus when you're in grade 10. It's not necessary for you to learn calculus when you're in grade 11. Okay, I just want to make that very clear. All right, next, if your goal is to get IB grades, I want you to remember the different seasons. Okay, there are different seasons among your IB journey. There's a season to work on IAs. There's a season to study for mocks. There's a season to study for exams. When you get back, if you can get into the season of studying for exams as fast as possible, you'll be in the best hands. Okay, and then again, much of the advice that with regards to getting good IB grades really just comes from understanding your priorities. Right, do the fundamentals. I posted on Reddit not too long ago that you should really focus on just the fundamentals, right? Most people are looking for some secret strategy on how to get IBO. What secret magic sauce did you use for getting 45 in the IB? Like, like guys, you need to simplify this. All right, the simple things are the things you're going to stay consistent with, and guess what? The simple things are also the fundamental things in this case, and I believe in all cases as well. If you can identify what those fundamental skills are, for instance, sitting down and doing focused work, working without distractions, right? Getting good amount of energy through good sleep. If you just focus in on those fundamentals, you're going to realize that it's going to be much easier to achieve these high grades because you have the fundamental skills you need to achieve them in the first place. And most people just miss out on this completely. They either do things that don't work or they're looking for some sort of magic sauce, some secret that doesn't exist. Just focusing on the fundamentals and you'll get those results. And the thing about the summer is that you can actually use the summer as a way to really build those skills, really build those fundamental skills, right? Just it's very easy in the summer to schedule, let's say, an hour and a half where you're just going to sit down and do focus work. It can literally be on anything, but you can literally turn that into a habit for your entire summer where you sit down maybe once a day for an hour and a half and you just do focus work, right? Or you sit down without distractions, or you get 8 hours of sleep every single day for the summer. That sounds like a pretty good goal. All right. In fact, that builds those habits, those fundamentals that are crucial for success. And when it comes to sleep, most people might not might not know this, but actually I got more than 8.5 hours of sleep every single day. There were maybe 5 times where I got less than that, 8 hours, but I never pulled an all-nighter. I never got less than 8 hours of sleep. Maybe there was one time where I got 7.5 hours, but every single time I was in bed for at least more than 8.5 hours, about 95% of the time. So don't believe that you need to sacrifice your soul to get a 45. All right. In fact, while that is possible, it's not the most practical way. Okay. So I'm going to leave you on that. Hopefully this video helped. If you want to get an Easter egg, I like giving out these Easter eggs. They're basically special codes that you insert into the link down below, and it gives you a special resource. All right, this Easter egg is called Grizzly Grind 28, capital G in the middle. So Grizzly as the animal with capital G, no space, grind with a capital G, then 28. Insert that code into the link down below, and you're going to get a special infographic and a set of resources to go alongside that. All right, I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions at all, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. I do my best to answer all of them, or you can shoot me an email at JqR@warden.upenn.edu. All right, have a good rest of your day and stay productive. I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye.